Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good night, good etc. my friends. How you guys doing? This is Drey. I am coming back to you guys with another new little video because I want to go into a little bit more of an in-depth discussion onto my main doctor build that I run in Dead by Daylight. I wanted to give a little bit more insight into like the reasons why I chose these four perks that you see on screen. Um, give a little rundown, some added little information that I might not be able to pass out during my streams. Um, I really wanted to kind of give you that level of detail in a video format rather than just do a very basic, quick rundown during my streams when people ask, because this is a very heavily asked question. People ask me all the time, well, why aren't you running this perk? Or why aren't you running that perk? Or why are you running like Iron Maiden in your build? Or why are you running Surge instead of not like Pop Goes the Weasel or Corrupt or something else along those lines? I wanted to do a video to help answer some of those questions to get to the real root of the issue, which is basically like this is my comfy build. This is my I just go into matches and I just want to chill and hang with my community. That is the entire purpose of this build. It is just a very straightforward. I go into matches, I can perform well, and if I don't perform well, then and the survivors do perform well, they're going to beat me. Like there's no backup plan. It's literally I have to perform well in order for this build to really shine. Um, and I enjoy that. Like I enjoy having that chance of, people outplaying me and everything. And it makes Dead by Daylight one of those games that is still incredibly enjoyable to play, 4+ years later here. So anyways, I'm going to just dive on into it, and we're going to look at both barbecue and chili and Iron Maiden first because they kind of go hand in hand here in why I run them in my build. Barbecue and chili, obviously, the blood points is always nice to have. It helps lower the grind in this game, which I know a lot of people have issues with the grind. It's always good to have in a build, especially if you have like a fourth perk slot open and you're like, I don't know what to run. Slap barbecuing, generally speaking. But the main reason to run it in match wise, outside of the BP, is you get the aura effect whenever you hook a survivor. This incentivizes you to leave the hook, go chase somebody else, go somewhere else, keep applying pressure all around the map. It gives you information on the movements of survivors, so you are aware, like, hey, they're working on this gen or that gen, or they're over here maybe working on a totem if you see them crouched down, or just it gives you an awareness to keep track of the different positions of survivors all throughout the match. And that is always good to keep in mind. So that way you can always, like, hey, I just finished this chase, and last I saw there were survivors over there, so maybe go check on that, or like to see if the gen's being worked on or whatnot. It's just invaluable information for you to just be able to chain your chases. Just go from person to person, chase people, down people, hook people, find somebody else, and it allows you to just keep on slamming that pressure that's building your snowball, as it were, on killer. And it is just really, really good to have in a build. Now, the other reason why I have Iron Maiden in this build alongside barbecue is Iron Maiden enhances the value I get out of that aura reading of barbecue. The main reason why? People hide in lockers to evade the aura reading because lockers block auras. So, say somebody gets into a locker just before somebody gets hooked. I won't see where they're at, and then generally they'll count for like several seconds after to ensure the aura reading is gone, and then they'll hop out of the locker. Then I wouldn't know where they're at. But Iron Maiden comes into play. the moment they get out of that locker, they scream, reveal their location, and now I still have general information as to where somebody is. It's just very good to have. It enhances the value you get from barbecue. I know I've said that a couple times now. It's just all in all good to have. The searching lockers quicker, like if I have a feeling somebody might be in a locker, it just speeds that up a little bit. It's not too super amazing. The exposed on getting out of a locker, that usually doesn't come into play very often, but the moments where it does, it can just compound and add to the snowball that you're building as a killer. Um, Getting a free down on a full health survivor, just deleting a chase before it even really begins, is pretty massive. And albeit it doesn't happen often, it does still happen. And you got to be aware of that. It is just an all around solid perk to have, especially running with barbecue, but also for running it on Doctor as well. Because Doc has the nifty little ability of his Static Blast, which pulses his terror radius to make people scream and increase their Tears of Madness by 1 level. People can also go into lockers to avoid that. And early game especially, like if they'll hear your terror radius, they'll like slip into a locker quietly, you Static Blast, oh, no one's there, you start walking away, and then right as that happens, somebody hops out of a locker, they scream, bam, you know somebody's there, you can turn around, maybe get an insta-down, or get into a chase faster than having to go somewhere else, but now you don't have your Static Blast up. It is just good to have on Doctor because information, in my opinion, is one of the biggest things when playing Killer and when playing Doctor especially. If you have information and you can play around that information well, you're going to generally do pretty well with him. It's just all around good things to be aware of, keep in mind. Information is king in my eyes. It's one of the main reasons why I play Doctor is I like knowing what is going on in a match, where people are, all that jazz. I want to have all of this information available to me at any given time. Barbecue, Iron Maiden, Doc Static Blast, all of it gives good information. Yes, you can counteract it with Calm Spirit, but then you're already counteracting most of the information Doc brings to the table as it is. So, it is what it is on that. Moving on, I'm going to bring up my main chase perk that I have. It's probably my favorite killer perk, if not my favorite perk in the entire game, even out of the survivor side. Save the best for last. You are obsessed with somebody. Every time you hit somebody that is not your obsession, you gain a token. Each token lowers the successful attack cooldown when you hit a survivor by 5%, stacking up to 8 times. This is very powerful. This is incredibly, incredibly strong in chase. It cuts off options for survivors to just run after you hit them. They can't get to as far if you have higher stacks of this up. It makes them not be able to play around by like running into you and then like trying to throw off where they're running towards. Things like that. It is just all around a feel good perk to have, and it is very, very strong, even particularly on Doctor. He has a couple instances that are very common on him, actually, where Save the Best is incredibly potent. Having even just like 4 or 5 stacks of this, somebody goes for like an unhook, like they're aggressively trying to unhook in your face, you can turn that unhook from a safe unhook into a very unsafe unhook, because either somebody's going to immediately trade, like they're going to go down or get grabbed off of the hook, because you can go for a shock into a hit, and then as the shock is wearing off, they'll try to unhook again. You can either hit them to down them as they finish the animation, or get a grab depending on your stacks of Save the Best. It makes it so doing a very ballsy unhook like that is generally not the play to do, especially if you're running right back at the hook. To go for these unhooks, that is not a good idea against Doctor. He can make it so it's almost a guaranteed trade, or at worst, make it so you don't even get the unhook and he just grabs you off of it. It is incredibly a bad idea to ever really do that against the Doctor, even without Save the Best, because he'll make it so you go down rather than getting the unhook safely. The other main usage of Save the Best that is unique to Doctor is you'll go for a shock therapy, cone shock, at a survivor who's running at a pallet or a window, either to drop the pallet or to vault a pallet or vault a window. If they run through the pallet, drop it, as you're shocking them, as the shock is hitting them, they'll be trapped on the other side. If you immediately hit as soon as your cooldown is up, if you have roughly 6 or 7 stacks to Save the Best, and they try to like revault the pallet, or say they're at a window that they are blocked at because of your shock, and you get a hit on them, and they stay there and they try to vault it in your face after the shock wears off of them, you'll either get a hit on them or you'll get a grab if you have 6 or 7 stacks. It is very... It does happen fairly regularly. Like, I'll usually have one of these instances every several games or so. It is just one of the added little niche uses of Save the Best on Doc, and it just makes it... It gives me more reason to run it on Doc, rather than just the fact that, like, hey, I like it. It's also very, very good. It's just all around a very solid chase perk. It's a very fun perk to utilize. It's very satisfying in nature visually when you get those higher stacks. You hit somebody and then you have a fast cooldown, especially with Doc, where his attack cooldown is he just taps his weapon twice into his hand, and it just visually is satisfying, and just it's a fun perk to run. I would highly recommend it. Anyways, we're going to move on from that. So that means we've gone over our 2 information perks, and we've gone over our main chase perk. Now we move on to the one gen regress, or sort of slow down perks that we run, which is Surge. Surge has very rapidly become my favorite gen perk in the entire game. I mainly use it just as a general. It automatically kicks the gens for me. I don't have to go out of my way to go kick a gen. I don't have to really make sure that something's regressing. If I down survivors in areas they're working on gens at, it will immediately get them regressing with a slight bonus to the regression. Yes, it has a cooldown. The cooldown is kind of negligible because generally it only applies to your basic attacks, and you're not going to get that many basic downs within a 40-second time span. So the cooldown is kind of moot. They could lower it a little bit, maybe to like 30 to 35-ish seconds, probably like 32 or so, but I don't really think it necessarily needs it, but it is something they could look into down the road. I just like it for the time efficiency's sake, especially on gens that are hard to rotate to. Gens that are on like second stories of buildings, or up on a hill, on the back end of a hill, or areas that will take you time to traverse to the generator, to kick the generator, and then to leave the area of the generator. That is also why I prefer it over perks like Pop Goes the Weasel or like Overcharge, things like that, because I don't have to go out of my way to run over to the gen, kick it, and then run away and then get back into chases with other people. I can just chase people, down people, hook people, move on. And this perk just makes sure that gens are pretty much regressing at all times. Like, you just will smack people down, proc Surge, the gens are regressing, and then you can just hook, get your information going with Barbecue and Iron Maiden, and go chase other people. It allows you to just keep on that very hyper-aggressive chase down, chase down, chase down, chase down, chase down that you can get into. It is very, very much a very aggressive perk. Uh, it may not necessarily have the same direct impact that you can get from Surge. I mean, not Surge, but Pop that a lot of people look for in their gen perks or whatnot. But I feel like it is generally a better perk in most circumstances outside of, like you're on the last gen and whatnot. Pop will probably be more invaluable in those circumstances, but Surge also prevents people, like if they're injured and they're working on a gen, they're trying to get adrenaline or something, because this is a circumstance that happens very regularly. Um, Down somebody, Surge procs on the gen, they're trying to commit to it in your face, and they can't because it applies an 8% regression to the generator. And then it's like, whoops, you guys overcommitted at the wrong moment, and then you can just snowball it. Um, so that's generally just like the basic rundown for my entire build. If you guys have questions, comments, concerns about it, or if you want to know a little bit more, feel free to let me know in the comments. I do stream over on Twitch. If you guys have any more questions that you guys have for me related to Doctor, related to my build, feel free to hop on over there. I stream Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm always down to answer questions. I'm always down to help people improve with Doctor. But yeah, this is my comfy build. This is my main go-to doc build. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for watching. And I will catch you guys in my next video or maybe over on Twitch. Thank you for being here, and I will catch you guys another time. Take care, my friends. Peace out.